you ever worried that people don't like you? Do you find it hard to make new friends or have one coworker that's a burden to deal with? If you've never considered yourself a people person and want to change that, here are 9 tips from Dale Carnegie's book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, that will instantly make you more likable. Welcome to the circle. The first tip is, don't criticize, condemn, or complain. If you do these 3 things, people will become defensive. The harsh truth is that people don't criticize themselves for anything. It doesn't matter how wrong they might be, it's a habit. As creatures of emotion motivated by pride and ego, they'll always find an excuse or reason to rationalize their actions. Have you ever noticed that the families of criminals will blame the system or the government and deny any wrongdoing? They'd rather say that the whole world is wrong than their baby, their parents, or their spouse. This isn't an accident. This is how people naturally react to criticism. Another story that highlights this natural reaction is that of the famous airplane pilot Bob Hoover. Bob was flying from an air show in San Diego when all of a sudden both of his airplane's engines cut out. Through talent, skill, and a lot of luck, he was able to land the plane safely. The plane was badly damaged, but everyone was safe. As the aircraft was assessed for the cause of engine failure, it was found that the World War II propeller plane had accidentally been filled with jet fuel. Back at the airport, Bob met with a mechanic who had made the worst mistake of his life. The young man was sobbing and shaking with fear. He knew how furious Hoover must have been at his error. All he could picture was the destroyed plane and the danger he'd put the pilot and his 3 passengers in. As he prepared to be yelled at, the mechanic braced for the worst. Then Hoover completely surprised him. He didn't yell at him. He knew the mechanic had learned a valuable lesson. He wanted the same mechanic to serve his airplane the very next day as a sign of good faith. What Hoover knew was the lesson from psychologist B.F. Skinner. Animals rewarded for good behavior learn more effectively than those punished for bad behavior. The same is true for people. Criticizing, condemning, and complaining at people doesn't encourage them to perform better. They aren't operating from reason and logic. People are emotional creatures. It takes true character to understand and forgive, like Hoover did. The second tip is to give honest and sincere appreciation. One of the strongest desires of human behavior is to be appreciated by others. We may not admit it, but we love to be complimented. It feels good to hear that we're doing a good job. Some historians even make the bold claim that civilization continues because of the human desire to be important. Our craving for approval drives us to do the unthinkable. Have you ever done something extra special just to hear "good job" afterward? That simple sensation pushes people to climb mountains. Authors write books because of the appreciation from their loving fans. Musicians make art from the letters of their raving listeners. Businessmen create multi-million-dollar companies from these same desires. The truth is, showing your appreciation is not about fancy gifts or titles. It's showing people how much you truly appreciate them. Small phrases like "thank you" or "I'm sorry" can be enough to completely change how others feel about you. It has to be sincere, honest praise. Don't be fake or phony. If you try to shower someone with empty flattery, people will see right through it. When you're trying to show your appreciation, stop for a moment and think of the good points for the person in front of you. You can even use inspiration from Ralph Waldo Emerson. He said that every person he met was superior to him in certain ways, so there is always something to learn and appreciate in other people. Tell someone what they're good at, what you've learned from them, or what you admire them for. Next time you see someone who is down, tired, and underappreciated, try to brighten their day with a little appreciation. You'd be surprised at how people react when their hunger for recognition is fed. You can go from a stranger to someone's favorite. The third tip is to appeal to another person's interest. What's your favorite food? Let's say it's cheesecake. If you were to go fishing, would you put your favorite cheesecake at the end of a fishing rod? If you did this, you wouldn't catch many fish because you'd be worried about your interest instead of the fish. When you attach what fish want, worms, bugs, and smaller fish, you'll be much more successful with each cast. Why should you treat people any differently? It's hard to realize because everyone is focused on their own interests. We all want what we want. But the trick is, the only way to influence other people is to talk about what they want and then show them how to get it. Every person in the world has something that they want and care about. You should approach it from this angle. Before you talk to someone, think in your mind, what can the other person get out of this interaction? Treat it as a challenge. You are not allowed to even say what you want. Instead, you have to relentlessly prove to others how much you want to help them. The world is full of selfish and self-seeking people. If you are the rare one who unselfishly serves others, it becomes a clear, unfair advantage. Andrew Carnegie proved this in a bet. His sister-in-law's kids never responded to letters, so he bet a friend that he could get each of the children to write letters to him without even asking for one. Here's how he won the bet. He wrote letters to each child, and at the end, he mentioned enclosed was a $5 bill. His trick? He never sent the money in the letter. What ended up happening is that each child sent a letter back to him thanking him, but asking where their money was. He played to their interests and won the bet. The fourth tip is to become genuinely interested in other people. Think, who is universally loved and considered friendly, lovable, and approachable? A dog. Dogs are always excited to see you. In their world, you are the most important thing. Just like a dog, if you show interest in other people, you make them feel like the most important person in the world. We naturally like people who admire us just a little bit more than others. But remember, people aren't interested in you or me. They are interested in themselves. Every day, they are thinking about themselves. Think of the last group photo you were in. Whose face did you look for and find first? Your face. Friends are easy to make when you are interested in them. It's much harder to get someone interested in you. If you want someone to feel you are interested in them, ask them about their background, their goals, their families, and hobbies. Be the person that remembers their problems and complaints. If you come across the solution just perfect for them, share it and tell them. Go out of your way to be extra helpful, especially to people you consider beneath your level. That could be an employee who doesn't report directly to you or service people, etc. For those above you, express genuine interest in them, their specialty, and listen closely to their advice. Everyone loves to feel important. By sharing their secrets of success, you give that feeling to others when you are paying close attention to them as they talk. The fifth tip is obvious but incredibly potent. Smile. A smile says, "I like you and you make me happy. I'm glad to see you." It's a clear message of goodwill. This tip completely changed a grumpy stockbroker into a richer and happier man. William B. Steinhardt was a New York stockbroker who put this tip into practice, and he was amazed as his life started to change. He committed to an experiment. Every morning, he'd have a pep talk in the mirror to smile more. He started his day by greeting his wife with a smile. Then he smiled at the doorman of his building, the cashier at the subway booth, the other traders on the trading floor, and finally, his colleagues in the office. It had an instant impact. People started smiling back. His home life improved. He said there was more happiness in the first 2 months of the experiment than the whole year before. In his work life, he realized he was getting fewer complaints and he was earning more money than he ever had before. All from a simple smile. He was a happier, richer man. Try smiling more and show people you're happy to see them. They can't help but be happy to see you too. The sixth tip is that the sweetest and most important sound in any language is a person's name. A name is a person's identity. It makes them unique. It's part of what makes them special. I struggled with remembering names for the longest time because I didn't realize how important this tip was. It seemed like whenever I met someone new, I'd hear their name and couldn't remember it after 5 seconds. I'd have to apologize in later conversation and feel foolish to ask them to repeat their name again. This is a big mistake. When you remember people's names, it shows you listen, you care, you remember them, and what you've talked about before. Just by using someone's name, you lower someone's guard. Whatever barrier exists between you two goes down, and people feel close to you. Now, when I meet someone, I focus on remembering their name right after I hear it. A trick I've learned is instead of just saying, "Nice to meet you," I now always say, "Nice to meet you, Tom." Another trick I've learned is to spend a few seconds connecting their name to the name of a friend or family member that I already know. I say, "Okay, this is Tom," like my best friend but a more handsome version. The next time you go to the gym, try it out. Instead of just saying hi to the clerk at the front counter, greet them by saying, "Hi Thomas, how are you doing today?" You'll quickly notice the difference in how people treat you. A word of warning: if you forget someone's name or misspell it, this is a mistake. It shows you didn't care enough to get it right. Remember, people pay a ton of money to have their names remembered. Parks, colleges, buildings, and football stadiums are all dedicated to the names of important people. The 7th tip is crucial. Be a good listener. A person's life is the most important life to them. Someone's upset stomach or headache is a bigger crisis in their life than any worldwide tragedy. When you let someone talk, it makes them feel important. Let them talk through their tough times. Ask how they're overcoming their current problems. If you find their stories, experiences, and wisdom helpful, tell them. Be genuine and share your feelings. Your stories are fascinating. I couldn't imagine going through what you have. I appreciate your wisdom. I find your life experiences super helpful. When people have a conversation, they are often so preoccupied with what they want to say that they don't listen to the other person at all. To be a good listener, you need to make a conscious effort to give the other person your full attention. The benefits are substantial. One story that highlights this is a dinner party Dale Carnegie went to in New York. At the party, he met a botanist. He'd never met a botanist before, and so he listens to him talk for hours on end about the descriptions of exotic plants and different experiments they conducted as part of their work. After the party was over, the botanist talked to the dinner host about what an interesting conversationalist Carnegie was. The funny truth is that Carnegie hardly said a word at all, but he was well liked because he was a good listener and gave the botanist his full attention during the lengthy conversation. When you get out of the bad habit of waiting for your turn to talk, you'll be well liked like Dale Carnegie. Remember, if you're thinking about what to say next while the other person is talking, it means you're still talking. The 8th tip is to make the other person feel important and make sure to be sincere. Everyone feels superior to you in some way. They might think they're smarter, make more money, are more attractive, athletic, or kinder than you. Here's a powerful trick. Let them realize in a subtle way that they are right. You understand how important they are and let them feel that. Let them indulge in that feeling of superiority. At the same time, avoid doing things that would make them feel less important or small. The 9th point is to let the other person do a great deal of talking. The only thing sweeter than someone's name is hearing their own voice, so encourage them to express their ideas and opinions fully. Let them talk about their special interests, the topics that interest them, and be good listeners. A benefit of this is when working with disagreeable people. If you let them feel hurt, they'll be more receptive to your side of things. This is a key strategy in dealing with difficult coworkers or business partners. Imagine each time you let someone feel acknowledged, heard, and understood, a drop of water falls into a bottle. The longer you let them talk, more water fills the bottle up. Your job is to fill the bottle with water. If you can do that, then you'll find even the difficult people in your life tend to agree and like you more than anyone else. The key: let them talk. If you interrupt their thought process or conversation, it's like you've tipped over your half-full bottle and you'll have to start over again. If you disturb their thinking, they won't enjoy talking with you. Let the other person talk and watch how they become more agreeable to you. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed these 9 tips, check out our other videos in the circle, which are arranged in playlists. Till next time.